So in the wake of the Hamas terror attack on Israel, things have gotten more and more insane by the minute. Of course, there's giant retaliatory strikes. Israel said we're at war. At least as of the recording of what you're watching right now, there were 100,000 Israeli troops on the border of Gaza, potentially about to do a ground invasion. They're already doing airstrikes. There's still hostages that Hamas has. 9 Americans were killed, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's not good, right? But it's getting more and more deranged by the minute. So here is Representative Dean Phillips. He's a Democrat. He's a very corporate centrist Democrat. In fact, he was saying, like, I might primary Biden for being too far left. This is the kind of guy that he is. He comes out and says the following. If this reporting that Iran helped plan, support, and initiate the attack on Israel is confirmed, principled nations of the world must unite and neutralize the most repugnant, repressive, destabilizing regime in the world. Evil cannot be appeased any longer. And then he puts this Wall Street Journal headline, Iran helped plot attack on Israel over several weeks. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps gave the final go-ahead last Monday in Beirut. So let's be clear. In the article, they're not citing U.S. intelligence. I believe they use a statement from some Hamas official and one other source to make the argument. Even to Dean Phillips' point here that this is the most repugnant, repressive, destabilizing regime in the world, that isn't remotely true. Saudi Arabia is way worse. Way, way worse. And also so is North Korea. There's a list of countries that are way worse than Iran. But Iran is an official U.S. enemy baddie state. And so they're using this guy's, I mean, look, I hate to say it, but it's true. Naomi Klein, classic shock doctrine moment. They've wanted to get rid of Iran for a while, to do regime change in Iran for a while. And so in the same way, they did this with Iraq after 9/11, where they said, oh my God, Saddam was working with Osama bin Laden, and so we got to go topple him. They're using this moment to make that same argument for Iran. Okay? So he's flat out calling for, let's have the world unite and do regime change in Iran. If you think that would go smoothly, if you think there aren't incredibly serious consequences for that, you're an idiot. In fact, war with Iran would make the Iraq war look like child's play. Because in this situation, you're also just flirting with World War III, right? Because there are alliances there. Iran, Syria, Lebanon, Russia, China. And of course, it's the U.S., many European countries on the other side. Like, this is very dangerous talk. Very, very dangerous talk. Now, by the way, just to be clear, am I saying that, Iran definitely didn't help Hamas on this? No, I'm not saying that at all. In fact, the connection between Iran, Hezbollah, and Hamas there's historic evidence for it, right? At the very least, they're allies. In a way that Saddam Hussein was never allied with jihadists or Al-Qaeda or Osama bin Laden. So there actually is more of a connection there. But my point to you is, even granting that, the idea that you look at this and say, well, now we need to do regime change in Iran, that is definitely not the answer. That is not the solution. And in fact, we know what's at the core of the Hamas terror attack in Israel. Now, they took hostages, they killed civilians, they went into a EDM music festival and started gunning people down left and right. All that stuff is horrendous and it's a war crime, and they should be brought to justice, people who did that. But let's also not pretend like we don't know what's at the core of the attack on Israel, which any reasonable person would admit to you. Of course, it's the illegal occupation. Of course, it's the expanded illegal settlements. Of course, it's the permanent apartheid system and police state. Of course, if you moved in the direction of getting Palestinians political rights and human rights, then, we would be de-escalating and there wouldn't be the terrifying scenario of terror attacks going into the future. So, all right, but now Lindsey Graham chimes in. He says the following.
So I've been on the phone all day to the Mideast, and I've told our allies and people with connections to Iran, what I would do, I would tell Iran that if Hezbollah attacks Israel, we're going to come after you, the Iranians, and have a coordinated effort between the United States and Israel to put Iran out of the oil business by destroying their refineries. There are 4 major refineries in Iran. They're fixed targets. If Hezbollah attacks Israel, I would make Iran pay a heavy price.
This is just astonishingly short-sighted and stupid. It really is, man. I mean, these are the same people, let's be clear, these are the same people who were screaming from the top of their lungs, don't do the Iran deal in the first place. Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And guess what? Trump pulled out of the Iran deal, even though it's been verified by the International Atomic Energy Agency over a dozen times that Iran was complying with the deal perfectly. Every time the regulators went in there, they said, look, there's no problems. They're complying with the deal perfectly. They ripped up the deal anyway. Trump ripped it up, and then Biden ran on, hey, if I'm president, I'm going to jump right back into that deal. And he didn't do it. And so now the Hawks basically have won the argument. They've made the situation worse, and now they turn around and go, wow, the situation's really bad. Maybe we should do war against them. No, we were doing the right thing when we had the nuclear agreement. That was the right thing. Peace and stability was the right thing. And now it's like they're just looking for an excuse to, hey, we should, bomb their oil. Well, that would take a country which is already poor and under tremendous sanctions and make them even more poor and even more desperate. It would lead to more war in the region, more death, more destruction. And he's just casually saying it. Like this is nothing. Again, war with Iran would make the war in Iraq look like a cakewalk, man. And we already know the war in Iraq was no cakewalk. Thousands of U.S. soldiers dead. Minimum 200,000 innocent Iraqi civilians killed. We've gone through the numbers in terms of how much money was wasted, how much profit was made by the military-industrial complex with the perverse incentive system that we have. And Lindsey Graham looks at that. He never had a war he didn't like. First of all, he said we never should leave Afghanistan or Iraq. We should just stay there. That's his actual belief. He ran for president in 2016, and he said that. And then now here he is like, let's do war with Iran. Jesus Christ. Oh, my God. And look, the scary thing is the national zeitgeist is going to be more open to the Lindsey Graham-style arguments now. Why? Because Hamas just did a terror attack in Israel. And so now, the world is coalescing and uniting around Israel, saying it's so messed up they killed your civilians, which it is. But now they're open to more hawkish arguments. People start their analysis and their viewing of the situation and of the history from the Hamas invasion. And they're like, barbarians, savages, right? That's the analysis. It's got to be their religion that makes them like subhuman and do these horrible things. And so what do? They only know violence, so let's give them violence. So people are going to be more open to these arguments. And the argument is, hey, Iran helped Hamas, and so they're responsible for it. They're behind it. They're the only one with the organizational ability and know how to pull off something like this. So they did it, so we should start going after them now. We should wage war against them now. He's not done, by the way. I think he has one more. Let's see what he says here.
Instead of assigning blame, let's get it right. I expect Israel to go in on the ground in Gaza. That's going to be a hell of a fight. There is no time limit on this operation. There is no pulling Israel back. To my Israeli friends, do whatever you have to do, as long as you have to do it. To Iran, if this war escalates with Hezbollah, we're all going to come after you.
Oh, my God. They are so willy-nilly with other people's kids, right? Like, when I hear Dean Phillips say what he said, when I hear Lindsey Graham say what he says, it's like, first of all, no. Second of all, even if you believe that, okay, son, grab a weapon and get on the front lines. Is it really that important to you? Oh, I hate this so much, man. God, so now we're closer to war with Iran than we've been in a very long time. All because this is being used in a way to make the argument against Iran. Not good. Look, this is a neocon full court press is what we're seeing right now. And level heads need to prevail, and unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's only going to get worse, particularly in the short term. Definitely vis-a-vis Palestinians in Gaza. There's about to be a hell of a lot of civilian casualties. And who knows whatever other consequences and backlash there will be as a result of this. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.